Right now, approximately 22,000 miles above the equator, a Russian satellite is closing in on an American military spacecraft, not drifting, not passing by on an intersecting orbit. Closing in, deliberately, under active propulsion control. The distance between them has shrunk from kilometers to hundreds of meters, then to tens of meters. The Russian spacecraft, officially designated Cosmos 2558, has been performing a slow-motion pursuit that has taken months. Its target is a classified U.S. signals intelligence satellite, one of the crown jewels of American space-based surveillance. And there is nothing, under current international law, that prevents this from happening. The United States Space Force tracks this encounter with the same clinical precision they use to monitor thousands of objects in orbit. But unlike tracking debris or dead satellites, this requires a different calculus. Because Cosmos 2558 is not debris. It is an active maneuvering spacecraft with unknown capabilities, operated by a nuclear power that has explicitly stated space is a domain of military competition. The Americans have a name for these Russian spacecraft. They call them inspector satellites. The Russians prefer the term co-orbital satellites. Neither term captures what is actually happening up there. This is not new. It has been happening since 2014, when Russia began launching a series of satellites under the bland Cosmos designation, a naming convention that has been used for everything from scientific missions to spy satellites since 1962. But these new Cosmos satellites behave differently. They maneuver with unusual frequency. They approach other spacecraft, both Russian and American, sometimes coming within meters. And in several documented cases, they have released smaller satellites from inside themselves, like Matryoshka dolls, the Russian nesting dolls that conceal progressively smaller copies within. The technical term for this is a co-orbital anti-satellite capability. The strategic term is a space weapon, and the uncomfortable reality is that several of these weapons are currently operational, positioned near some of America's most sensitive military spacecraft, and there is very little public discussion about what this means. To understand how we arrived at this moment, we need to go back to 2013. That year, Russia launched Cosmos 2491 from Plesetsk Cosmodrome. The launch was routine. The orbital parameters were consistent with previous Russian military satellites. But within weeks, something unusual began to happen. Cosmos 2491 started maneuvering. Not the gentle station-keeping burns that satellites perform to maintain their orbits, but aggressive, high-delta-V maneuvers that changed its trajectory significantly. Western tracking networks watched as Cosmos 2491 approached another Russian satellite, Cosmos 2499, which had been launched shortly after. The two spacecraft rendezvoused. They remained in close proximity for an extended period. Then Cosmos 2491 moved away and approached yet another Russian satellite. This was not standard behavior. This was a demonstration. The United States military understood immediately what they were witnessing. Russia was testing proximity operations, the ability to maneuver one spacecraft close to another with precision. This is not inherently hostile. Proximity operations are required for satellite servicing, for docking, for inspection of malfunctioning spacecraft. But they are also required for something else, for disabling or destroying satellites that belong to someone else. In 2014, Russia launched Cosmos 2499, then Cosmos 2504 in 2015, Cosmos 2519 in 2017. Each launch added to a growing constellation of maneuverable satellites, and each satellite demonstrated increasingly sophisticated capabilities. Cosmos 2519 released a sub-satellite, which itself then released another sub-satellite. 3 spacecraft from one launch, and all of them were maneuvering independently. The pattern became clear. Russia was building an operational anti-satellite capability based not on missiles launched from the ground, which are detectable and create debris fields, but on satellites that are already in orbit that can approach their targets slowly over weeks or months and that can operate in the same orbital regime as their targets without triggering the immediate alarms that a ground-launched interceptor would. By 2020, the US Space Force was tracking multiple Russian inspector satellites, and at least one of them was positioned near a classified American spacecraft. General John Raymond, then Chief of Space Operations, made a rare public statement about the threat. He described one Russian satellite that had maneuvered close to an American satellite and then released a high-velocity projectile. The projectile was small, moving at orbital velocities, exactly the kind of kinetic kill vehicle that could disable a satellite without creating the massive debris field that a missile strike would produce. This is where the technical details become important, because they reveal the sophistication of what Russia has built. A satellite in geosynchronous orbit, 22,000 miles above the equator, moves at approximately 3 kilometers per second relative to the Earth's surface. But relative to other satellites in similar orbits, the velocities are much lower. This means that a spacecraft can approach another spacecraft slowly using minimal propellant and position itself within meters or even closer. At that range, several options become available. The inspector satellite can photograph the target, documenting its configuration, its antennas, its sensors. This intelligence is valuable. American spy satellites are classified not just in their missions but in their physical design. Knowing what a satellite looks like tells you what it can do. Knowing the size and orientation of its antennas tells you what frequencies it monitors. Knowing its maneuvering capability tells you how to evade it. But photography is the benign option. At close range, an inspector satellite can also jam its target. Radio frequency interference at close range requires very little power. A small transmitter, positioned meters away, can overwhelm a satellite's receivers, blinding it. This is reversible. Move the jammer away and the target recovers. But during a conflict, temporary blindness might be all that is needed. Then there are the kinetic options. A satellite that can approach within meters can release a projectile. It does not need to be large. At orbital velocities, even a small object carries enormous kinetic energy. Or the inspector satellite can simply make contact. A gentle bump at these velocities is enough to destabilize a satellite, send it tumbling, destroy its ability to point its antennas or sensors. And if the goal is permanent destruction, well, satellites are fragile things. They are built light, with thin materials designed for the benign environment of space. They are not armored. They cannot maneuver quickly. They are, in every practical sense, defenseless. The United States has known about anti-satellite weapons for decades. During the Cold War, both the Soviet Union and the United States tested ground-based anti-satellite missiles. The Soviets had an operational system, the ISA, which used a co-orbital approach similar to what Russia is doing now. An interceptor would be launched into orbit, maneuver close to its target over 1 or 2 orbits, then detonate a fragmentation warhead. The United States tested its own systems, including air-launched missiles and ground-based interceptors. But those Cold War systems were crude. They required dedicated launches. They were detectable. And they created debris, which was increasingly seen as unacceptable as the orbital environment became more crowded. By the 1980s, both nations had largely abandoned kinetic anti-satellite weapons in favor of other approaches. What Russia has built is different. These are not dedicated interceptors launched in a crisis. These are satellites that are already in orbit, that have been there for years in some cases, that appear to be normal military satellites until the moment they begin maneuvering toward a target. They are pre-positioned weapons, and they are much harder to defend against. The strategic implications are profound. The United States military depends on satellites to an extent that is difficult to overstate. GPS provides positioning and timing for everything from guided munitions to financial transactions. Communications satellites relay orders from command centers to forces deployed globally. Reconnaissance satellites provide surveillance of potential adversaries. Early warning satellites detect missile launches. Weather satellites support operational planning. Remove these capabilities, and the American military becomes significantly less effective. Russia understands this dependency. Chinese military strategists have written extensively about it, describing American reliance on space assets as a critical vulnerability. And now, Russia has positioned weapons in orbit that can exploit this vulnerability. Not hypothetically, not in some future crisis, right now, today. The challenge for the United States is that there are no good options for responding. International law governing space is built on principles established in the 1960s, codified in the Outer Space Treaty of 1967. That treaty prohibits placing weapons of mass destruction in orbit. It does not prohibit conventional weapons. It does not prohibit satellites from maneuvering close to other satellites. There is no definition of how close is too close. There is no enforcement mechanism. The United States could launch its own Inspector satellites to monitor the Russian spacecraft. In fact, it has. The US operates its own fleet of maneuverable satellites, some under military programs like the Geosynchronous Space Situational Awareness Program, others under classified programs with unknown designations. But this creates its own problems. If both sides have Inspector satellites monitoring each other's spacecraft, the orbital environment becomes increasingly congested and increasingly tense. An accidental collision, a misinterpreted maneuver, could trigger escalation. The United States could also develop countermeasures. Satellites could be hardened against jamming. They could be equipped with sensors to detect approaching spacecraft. They could carry their own defensive systems, small thrusters to evade, perhaps even active defenses. But all of this adds mass, adds complexity, adds cost, and it assumes that defense is possible, which is not clear. A satellite that can maneuver freely has significant advantages over one that is trying to maintain a specific orbit to perform its mission. There is also the option of deterrence. The United States could make clear that any attack on American satellites would be considered an act of war, triggering a response not just in space, but across all domains. This is the logic of mutually assured destruction applied to the space domain. But deterrence only works if both sides believe the other will follow through. And it does nothing to address the intelligence collection that these Inspector satellites are almost certainly conducting right now. What makes this situation particularly unsettling is the lack of public awareness. The confrontation happening in orbit is every bit as significant as the naval encounters in the South China Sea or the air intercepts near Russian borders that make headlines. But it happens in silence, in darkness, 22,000 miles above the Earth, tracked by a small number of military personnel and intelligence analysts who cannot discuss what they see. The technical details that are public come from a combination of amateur satellite trackers who have become remarkably sophisticated in their ability to monitor orbital maneuvers, and occasional statements from military officials. In 2020, the U.S. Space Command released a statement expressing concern about Russian Inspector satellite activities. In 2022, General James Dickinson, commander of U.S. Space Command, testified to Congress about the threat. But the specifics remain classified. Which satellites are being targeted? How close the Russian spacecraft have come? What capabilities they have demonstrated? All of this remains behind classification barriers. What we do know is troubling enough. We know that Russia has launched at least a dozen of these Inspector satellites since 2013. We know that they have demonstrated the ability to approach other spacecraft, both Russian and foreign, with precision. We know that at least one has released a projectile at high velocity. We know that several are currently positioned near American military satellites. And we know that this is continuing. Cosmos 2558, launched in August 2022, is right now conducting proximity operations near a U.S. satellite. The question that remains unanswered is what happens next. Is this simply intelligence collection, Russia gathering data on American satellite capabilities to inform their own designs and their own operational planning? Is it preparation, positioning assets for use in a future conflict? Or is it something more immediate, a form of coercion, a way of signaling that Russia has the capability to blind American satellites if it chooses, and that this should factor into American decision-making during a crisis? There is historical precedent for this kind of ambiguity. During the Cold War, Soviet submarines would trail American aircraft carriers, sometimes for weeks, maintaining a position from which they could launch torpedoes with minimal warning. This was not an act of war, it was peacetime operations. But it was also a demonstration of capability. a reminder that in a conflict, those carriers would be vulnerable. The inspector satellites are the space equivalent. They are not attacking, but they are positioned to attack. And that positioning is itself a form of pressure. The tragedy here is that this was avoidable. After the Cold War, there was a window of opportunity to establish meaningful rules for space operations, to define what constitutes threatening behavior, to create verification mechanisms and dispute resolution processes. Some efforts were made. The United States and Russia engaged in discussions about space security. The United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space held meetings. But no binding agreements emerged. The United States was reluctant to accept restrictions on its own freedom of action in space. Russia and China proposed a treaty banning space weapons, but the United States rejected it, arguing that verification would be impossible and that the definition of space weapons was too vague. So here we are. No rules, no agreements. Just a growing number of maneuverable satellites, operated by multiple nations, with capabilities that blur the line between peaceful and hostile. And a growing recognition that the next conflict, wherever it starts, will almost certainly extend into space. The United States Space Force was established in 2019, in part to address this threat. Its mission includes protecting American satellites and, if necessary, denying adversaries the ability to use space. But the Space Force is small, with limited resources, and it is trying to defend assets that were designed decades ago, without consideration for active threats. Most American military satellites cannot maneuver quickly. They cannot detect approaching spacecraft. They are optimized for their missions, not for survival. There are efforts underway to change this. The Space Force is developing new satellite designs with greater maneuverability, with sensors to detect threats, with resilience built in from the start. There are plans for rapid launch capabilities, the ability to replace satellites quickly if they are destroyed. There are discussions about disaggregating capabilities, spreading them across many small satellites rather than concentrating them in a few large, vulnerable platforms. But all of this takes time and money, and it requires sustained political will, which is difficult to maintain for threats that remain largely invisible to the public. Meanwhile, the Russian inspector satellites continue their slow-motion pursuit, closing the distance meter by meter, orbit by orbit. As you read this, Cosmos 2558 is up there, maneuvering, adjusting its trajectory, burning propellant to match orbits with its American target. The operators, sitting in a control center somewhere in Russia, are executing a mission plan that was developed months or years ago. They are collecting data, testing procedures, demonstrating capability. And they are sending a message, one that does not require words, one that is written in orbital mechanics and propellant budgets and closing velocities. The message is simple. Space is no longer a sanctuary. The advantage the United States has enjoyed for decades, the ability to operate satellites without fear of interference, is ending. The rules that prevented this, the norms that made space a relatively peaceful domain, have eroded. And what replaces them is not war, not yet, but something close to it. A competition conducted in silence, in the dark, with weapons that are already in position and targets that are already acquired. This is the new reality of space operations. Not the optimistic vision of international cooperation and peaceful exploration that dominated the early space age. Not even the tense but stable competition of the Cold War, when both sides understood the risks and maintained at least minimal communication. This is something different. A domain where adversaries operate in close proximity with minimal transparency, where the line between intelligence collection and attack preparation is invisible, and where the consequences of miscalculation could be catastrophic. The inspector satellites are up there right now. They will be up there tomorrow, and unless something changes, they will still be up there, closing in on their targets when the next crisis begins. And when that happens, the question will not be whether space becomes a battlefield. It will be how quickly and how devastating the consequences will be for the side that depends most on those fragile, defenseless spacecraft that are, at this moment, being stalked by Russian satellites with unknown intent and demonstrated capability.